All right, here we go. This is our first video for trigonometry. Make sure you take notes, just like if you were in class. All right, so we're starting with chapter 1, the 6 trig functions, and we're doing 1.1, which is angles, degrees, and special triangles. Angles, degrees, and special triangles. So I'm going to break up this video or this lecture into two videos. In the first one, we're going to cover angles and degrees, and then in the second one, we're going to cover special triangles. Okay? All right, so angles. We'll start there. So an angle has an initial side, so like this right here. So this would be the initial side, and it has a terminal side. So this here is the initial side. This here is the terminal side. And right over here, this little corner is the vertex. And we have this angle measure right here. And we usually use theta. Theta is a Greek letter. This here, theta. Okay? Now, depending on the way that the angle opens up, so like this one here, we see it opens upward. So this one would have a positive sign. But it is possible to have an angle with a negative measure. Okay, so let me move this up. You can pause. If you ever feel like I'm going too fast, just hit the pause button. All right, the sign of an angle. All right, so if you have your angle measured upward like this, right? So this is your angle measure theta. So if it's counterclockwise, then your angle is positive. Okay? But if your angle goes clockwise, like this, so kind of downward, then your angle is negative. Angle is negative. Okay, so it is possible to have like 45 degrees, and then it's also possible to have negative 45 degrees. Okay. All right, so let's talk about degree measure. That's probably the most common way or familiar way that you are used to measuring an angle is with degrees. Okay, so we know that one full circle or one complete revolution is 360 degrees, right? So like a full circle, you start here and then you go all the way around, right? You go all the way around and you end in the same place, right? So one complete revolution is 360 degrees. All right, so if one complete revolution is 360 degrees, then we know going only halfway halfway around is 180. Okay, so if we start here and then we go all the way around here. Okay, so then here, this here is 180. So half a circle, or half of a full rotation being one revolution, is 180 degrees. And then if we take half of that, half of 180 is 90. So we start here, and we go here, right? So half of that being that up there, half of that is 90 degrees. And then we can take half of that, which is 45, etc., etc. Okay, but you should at least be familiar with 360 degrees, 180 degrees, 90 degrees. Okay? All right, so we have different angle types. So let's get into that. So angle types. So we have right angles. You should be familiar with right angles from previous math courses. Okay. So here we usually have that little square there to denote that it's a right angle. And so this here, theta, is a right angle. And a right angle is 90 degrees. 90 degrees. So theta equals 90 degrees here. All right. So that's a right angle. And then we have straight angles. And here, this would be 180 degrees. And then we have, actually, let me do that up down here. And then we have the acute angle. Okay, so here we have an acute angle. That's this angle here. And this acute angle is always between 0 and 90 degrees. Okay, whereas an obtuse angle so like this here is an obtuse angle, and obtuse angles are between 90 and 180. Okay, so we have the right angle, 90 degrees. We have straight angles, 180 degrees. And then we have acute and obtuse angles. One is less than 90, one is more than 90. And then we have complementary angles and supplementary angles. Okay, so if you remember from your geometry class, if you have two angles, let's call this one alpha and beta. If you have two angles that add up to 90 degrees, then they are complementary. Okay, so complementary angles mean they add up to 90 degrees. Okay. If you remember the other one, supplementary, what does supplementary angles add up to? Okay, very good. If you said 180, then you are correct. So maybe you have this angle here is alpha, and this angle here is beta. They are supplementary if they add up to 180 degrees. Okay? So in the homework, you might be asked to find the complement or find the supplement. Okay, so let's take a look at some examples of that. All right, so give the complement and supplement of each angle. Give the complement and the supplement of each angle. Okay, so we'll do it for 40 degrees. We'll do it for 110 degrees. And we'll do it for theta in general. Okay? All right, so let's do the complement first. All right, so what we do know is that if it's complementary, then they add up to 90 degrees. Okay, so we're going to do 40 plus something equals 90 degrees. And this x here represents the complement to 40. Okay, and so we know 40 plus whatever it is should add up to 90 degrees, so we're going to go ahead and solve for x. So I'm going to go ahead and solve for x by subtracting 40 degrees on both sides. And we get that x is equal to 50 degrees. Okay, so 50 and 40 do add up to 90. All right, and we can do something similar for the supplement, but instead of setting it equal to 90, we can do 40 plus something equals 180. Okay, and here now x represents the supplement to 40. So let's go ahead and solve for x by subtracting 40 on both sides. So we get x is equal to 140. Okay. So that's how you find the complement and the supplement. Why don't you go ahead and try that with letter B, and then check back with my answer. Okay, so hit the pause button. All right, so for the complement, we're going to do the same thing. We're going to do 110 degrees plus something equals 90. Okay, and so you might be like, oh, well, how does that work? Because we're going to end up with negative numbers. Well, that's okay, because remember, back here, we said, where is it? Right here, clockwise, right over here. If our angle measure is clockwise, then the angle is negative. So we do have negative angle measures. So you're okay over here with getting a negative answer. Okay. So let's go ahead and solve for x. Subtract 110 from each side. Okay, and you should get x equals negative 20 degrees. Okay, so that is a perfectly fine answer. And for the supplement, we also set it up the same way we did for 40 degrees. 110 plus some number equals 180. Solve for x. And we get x equals to 70 degrees. Okay? All right, now, so here for letter C, we have just this general angle theta. Okay, so here what we're going to do is really just come up with a general formula for finding the complement. And we see from letter A and B that, okay, well, we just take whatever angle it is, add x, and set it equal to 90. Okay, and if we solve for x, then we would have to subtract the angle, whatever the angle is. In this case, it's just theta, and that would be our answer. So here, x would be equal to 90 degrees minus theta. So that's just a general formula, okay? And then same thing with the supplement. So we know theta plus some number is going to equal 180. So if I subtract theta to solve for x, I get 180 degrees minus theta. We don't have a number for theta, so we can't actually do the subtraction, so we just leave it like that. Okay? All right, excellent. Okay, so that is part 1. So you can start on the homework by doing the problems that are asking you to find the supplement and the complement, or you can go ahead and start watching part 2.